Hey everyone, I wanted to make this video to go over something that I think, unfortunately, too many people have had this issue, and I've talked to everyone about it. When I originally spoke with people for the first time, getting people set up, I haven't spoke with everyone about this, but I think try to make this a point, and everyone should know that our biggest issue with upset customers is when we do not recommend enough samples. And that may sound crazy, but in all my years of doing this, it is very, very rare that we have somebody who's upset with us for recommending too many samples. And like I say, I always say, we're not asking you to recommend illegitimate samples or just samples for no reason. But if there is a sample that could give you new information, and there's certain times when you have to do things a certain way in order to get this information, because you simply do not know what's going on unless you test in certain circumstances. And I did a video because I don't think an email gets the point across, and hopefully more people will watch this and see a real life example of what I'm talking about. So here we have, this is a 2,500 square foot house. There's 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, and the report is actually pretty decent. So the inspector filled out everything. He put in all the notes, good overview about everything he talked about. And if you look at this, the family is complaining about health issues. So that goes to the point of people are ordering a mold inspection. They're concerned about mold for some reason or another. And so many times we have people we have inspectors that go in and they don't see anything, so they don't recommend any tests. And I've gotten in arguments over with inspectors about this, saying that that's not how you should do it because they don't need the tests. And constantly we have customers just like this who give a bad review, and they say, here, just reading over this real quick. I'll give the tech credit for making sure to contact us prior to arriving, send a report, but that's about all. The technician did not do a thorough job coming to our house, looked for mold issues. They came in and asked where our concerns were. They looked at some of those areas, but that was about it. Didn't look under sinks, didn't look in other rooms, didn't have all the equipment. So he talks about how he didn't bring his thermal and he was not willing to go back and get it. And then also, here we have the 2 mold remediation companies that they brought in afterwards were talking about how there should have been an air sample done in the basement. And when you have a 2-story home with a basement and no visible mold, at the very least, you need to be recommending a test on every level. And a basement is the most prone to water damage, so that should 100% be suggested. And really, I mean, if you're having issues, you can even go as far as to say the best thing to do is have a test done in every room of the house. It's true. There's no way that anybody can tell me that having a test done, not having a test done could not give you a thorough report, and you would see exactly what's going on. You would know exactly what rooms have elevated mold and what rooms don't. And this house only has slightly elevated levels, 1,400 in the family room, 1,300 in the master bedroom. But when we go down to the inspectors, and if you look through the report, just kind of showing that they did fill everything out, have a decent amount of pictures. One other thing is that I want to talk about is there's a mention here of we discussed doing a swab of the lower part of the furnace, but no pictures of this furnace. So, I mean, it's crazy to me. You can't talk about something in your report but not have a picture of it. This is not 1990 where you're trying to save on film. Just having as many pictures as possible, because this actually looks pretty good. What he's got, a decent amount of pictures, and this goes a long way. Some of you are not putting any like bare minimum of pictures, and that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous because going back to before I touch on that, the recommendations are vacate premises, no. Problem spread throughout, no. Problem is localized, yes. How do you know that? You don't, because you did not test the basement. So you cannot say every test that you took is elevated. So how can you say that it's localized? And hopefully that shows how crazy it is to not recommend the test. I mean, this is black and white of the problem that it highlights. And I'm going to say it again. These are our most unhappy customers from not recommending enough tests. You are not doing anybody a favor by not recommending tests. You could be making more money, you get a more thorough report, the customer is happy, the remediation company that gets our report says, oh wow, this is great. Do you think that these two mold remediation companies that came in after us and looked at our report and didn't have the information that they needed, think that do you think that they're going to recommend us for mold test? Probably not. Probably not. So they're just spending a little bit more time. You're already there. You did the hard part. You showed up. That's the hardest part, is showing up. By going and looking through the cabinets and taking the pictures, you might be changing from like a 45-minute inspection to an hour inspection. But most of the time when you go that extra mile, the customer is going to trust you. And they're going to get those extra tests when you tell them to get the test. And it's just whenever, like I said, whenever you have a test that should be recommended, you have to recommend it and leave it up to the customer. Because in this circumstance, if all we did was recommend a test in the basement and they said no, it would be 100% the customer's fault. But we didn't. So now it's our fault. And all this work for this pretty good report is all down the drain because somebody felt that there was basically assumed there was not a problem here because there was nothing visible. And you have to stop assuming there is no problem. Let the test tell you what's going on. That's all. Thank you.